Hello, it's Molly Reamer with Bridget's Grove and 30 Days of Goddess with our September practice update. And you might be able to hear the creaking sound of bug song in the air. It is that time of year where you can start to feel the wheel tip towards fall. You can feel it in your body. You can see it in the trees, you can hear it in the air, and you can kind of taste it on the wind. And so before we get started, I have a couple of things I'd like to share with you today. But before we get started, I would like to just invite you to take a deep breath and settle into your body. Letting yourself recall your attention, bring yourself back in. And perhaps let your eyes wander over the space that you're in, looking at what you can see, feeling what you can feel, hearing what you can hear, tasting what you can taste, inhaling what you can inhale. And you also may wish to bring your hand briefly to your forehead, then to your heart, then to your belly, and then perhaps folding your hands in prayer pose, bring them to your own lips and offer a kiss to this moment, to this day, to your practice, celebrating that here you are showing up again. And I have a little prayer. This is from our Cut Your Own deck for September. Let us reach out fingers both brave and trembling to touch the pulsing world. May we be restored to center. May we be filled with the pleasure of being alive. And that really is what I wish for you this month. Like, may you be filled with the pleasure of being alive. So, welcome to September. Welcome to 30 Days of Goddess for September and this practice update. And one of the things I wanted to remind you is if you are new to 30 Days of Goddess, that's great. You can start right here, right now. You will find the supplies that you need to get started in the links below this video. But I also wanted to remind you, if you're new, that there's a whole series of 101 videos introducing you to the practice, the prayer book process, and things like that, available via 30daysofgoddess.com/101. So I'm not going to review all that stuff now. I decided to set up a 101 page so that I don't end up talking for the first half of the video about stuff that everybody who's involved already knows, but that the information is still out there and accessible to new people. So if you're new, hop on over to 30daysofgoddess/101. And if you have been around for a while, whether you've been around since the beginning, hello Karen, or whether you have been, whether you've been here since June or July, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm glad you're making this space for yourself and for the sacred in your own life. And so that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I ended up writing some notes for this meeting, for lack of a better word. I wanted to make some notes because there's a couple things I really wanted to emphasize this month. And one of the things I wanted to say is that I was going to talk about the prayer book briefly, this prayer book process that I made. And the prayer books for September do have cut-outable runes in the back, which I feel really good about. And so I'm happy to have that available. And then I do have the cut out color decks for September as well. I'm working on a September logbook that hopefully by the time you watch this video is in the shop. Not a September logbook, a fall logbook that's 3 months in one. So hopefully by the time you watch this video, that's in the shop. I'm also working on the mini prayer books as a professionally printed version. So the files to make a mini prayer book are attached below this video, but hopefully really soon I will have some of those already done in the shop as well. And the mini prayer books are really ideal as just a very brief little check-in where you get your little card of the day and add it to the page, and there's not a lot that you need to feel like you have to fill out in that book. So I like to expand the options. Mark reminds me that if I make too many options, it's confusing for people. I sometimes confuse myself. I've written so many things and I have so many little cards. I'm like, where did I use this and where did this come from? And how many cards do I possibly have? I've written 1,000 of these. But I really feel like I want this practice to meet your needs. And so when I see people talking about, having not enough time or having there be too much space or not wanting to write things every day, I'm like, ooh, there's an option for that. And so that's where the little mini prayer books are coming from, is for a really streamlined version that still goes day by day instead of a logbook, which has 3 days in one. So anyway, the first thing I wanted to talk about today is that I really feel like this prayer book makes forms like an accountability partner. If the prayer book itself, I was thinking about this the other day. I was writing my poem and I was sitting on the deck and I was looking out at the sky and I thought, this prayer book is like an accountability partner for me. We've talked about keeping your promise to yourself, right? And we've talked about showing up for yourself and showing up for the sacred in your own life and trusting that when you show up, the sacred shows up too. When you show up, the goddess shows up too. And something will happen, something through dedicated practice, through devotional practice, through daily practice, something happens. And I thought, the book itself, I've spoken of that as it's a, sacred space. It's a portable tiny temple. It's a container for your magic. It's a holding place for your wisdom. It's all that accumulated power and magic in one spot. And then I thought it's also an accountability partner, because if I don't show up for myself, if I break my promise to myself, like the prayer book knows, like it holds space for me. It makes a space right there on that page. And so if I think, oh, I don't, maybe I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, the book is there waiting for me and it's my accountability partner. And I really liked that kind of image of like the book is there like waiting for me and I'm going to keep my promise to it. And so I think sometimes one of the things that I have noticed as in my attempt to make this practice accessible and have lots of options for lots of people is sometimes I have a reluctance to, or maybe I downplay like the magic that's available to you here through this process, through this practice, through using these cards and using these books and making space for yourself in every day. I'm like, I think sometimes I am reluctant to name the magic. I'm reluctant to say, because I don't like to make promises. I don't like it when other teachers like make what I consider to be extravagant claims, this is going to transform your DNA, kind of thing. But I'm here to say, like, really, I do think that 30 Days of Goddess can change your life. I really do think that this prayer book process, these cards, this opportunity, this space that you carve out for yourself, whether or not you do art or write every day, the process of making this space and the materials that I've created to like support that process, it will change your life. And I can promise you that something will happen. Like you will spot magic. You will see things. You will make discoveries. You will learn truths. You will uncover like wisdom. Because there is magic here. There is magic here. There's magic in this process. There's magic in your life. There's magic in your world. And you're invited every day to step into it, to accept the invitation, to sit with joy and create your life. Like that's the invitation. And so I thought, I'm doing this whole thing a disservice by not naming and claiming that magic and that power and saying like, yes, actually this will change your life. Like you will have more calm, more peace, more wonder, more joy, more delight, more discovery, more space, more sacredness through this process. You will. I feel 100% confident of that. And so I thought, wow, why would I put the lid on that trust that I have in this for you? So I wanted to make sure to mention that first. And then the other thing I wanted to say about 30 Days of Goddess, about this practice, about daily practice in general, is that I honestly feel like when I settle down with my prayer book, when I'm outside, I feel like it's when I feel like I'm my truest self, when I feel most present, when I feel most in sync, when I feel most centered. And it's the place where I can be my truest self. And I want more moments like that in my life. And I think a lot of us are seeking more moments like that in our lives. Like, how can we have more of this feeling? And so this 30 Days of Goddess for me is really how I come back to presence, how I come back to center, how I come back to wholeness. That said, one of the other things I wanted to really mention is that you are always present. The present moment is what we have. So presence is not something you have to strive for or earn, and it's not something that's on your to-do list, because you are present simply by being alive. That's what we have, is the present. And so even when your thoughts are wandering, right? So to me, 30 Days of Goddess daily practice is all about coming back to presence and feeling present. And I'm like, wow, I want to carry this into the rest of my day, into the rest of my life. I want to feel this. And at the same time, you are always present. You can't not be. You can't not be present. And so even when your thoughts are wandering, they're wandering in the present. Even when you're lost in memory, you're in the memory and you're still in the present while you're having the memory. Even if you're daydreaming, you're still here. You're just daydreaming at the same time. You cannot not be present. So let's take away that pressure to perform presence or to force presence or to strive for presence. We can't not be present. We're always present. And so I love this. So I love the concept of presence. I love being present. I love the feeling, but we always are present. And so the other thing I wanted to mention about that is, I feel like this removes any shame or blame or pressure from the notion of presence. So perhaps when I use the word presence, I'm really speaking more of awareness or center, like bringing my awareness back outside of my own brain. So I think, and that's what I was going to say, is like we use the word presence, but really I think what we're describing is an experience of being centered and an experience of feeling whole, an experience of feeling connected, and also a feeling of awareness, of being aware, of being connected, of being alert, of knowing what's going on and not being lost in the daydream or the fantasy or the memory or the worry or the to-do list. So, but anyway, even if you're lost in the to-do list, that's still what's happening right now. So you're still present. You're lost in the to-do list, and that's what's happening in the present. And so really, I think when I use the word presence, I'm often talking about returning to center and coming into awareness. And for me, I feel that sensation of center, awareness, presence. I feel that in my body. I know the difference between being lost in the to-do list or the memory and the sensation of what I would call presence. So even if I understand that, hey, being lost in this to-do list is still being present with being lost, what I'm seeking with daily practice and what I'm hoping to help you create is the feeling that lands in your body as, I am here. Like I am really here. I am present. So one of the things I've been doing for myself is just coming back to those words, I am here or I am present. I also will just put my hand on my heart or lay my hand against my belly and say, center. I'm coming back to center. I'm returning to center. And so I am here, I am present, I am returning to center. All those things can help us bring us back to being rooted in ourselves, but also having being outside of our own minds, being aware of what's around us right here, right now, and having that awareness kind of external instead of just an inner experience. Both are needed. We need the inner and the outer experiences. But so I'm not sure if that's coming across like the way I mean for it to sound. The liberation of not needing to force yourself to be present, while at the same time acknowledging that gift of true presence that you can feel in your body. So I'd love to hear if you have that feeling of like, do you know how it feels to be present, centered, aware, connected? Do you know that feeling? And how do you know it? Do you feel it in your body? And I just know the difference. Like I know the difference between feeling like my brain is spinning out with ordering books for college and making sure I get groceries and that kind of stuff, and when I am here with my eyes on the way that the rain is hanging in the spider web or the way the sunlight is catching in the mulberry trees. But I can be present with the list as well. Like those things are not bad or wrong. And I think sometimes we try to shame or blame ourselves out of them. And it's secretly a veiled quest for perfection under this guise of presence. Like I'm going to have to be perfect. And you can't not be present. You just are. Like this is what you have. This is where you are. So hi, you're here. You did it. Congratulations. You're present. So I wanted to mention that. And then I just recently spoke with Woman Spirit Reclamation's In Her Own Words book club about walking with Persephone. And Monette in that book club kind of called my attention to something I almost had forgotten that I wrote in Walking with Persephone. It's on page 9 at the bottom, where I'm talking about walking and going for a walk and seeing a big grapevine that's curved over this piece of stone that's fallen off of a really ancient, bluff top. And I watched that and I thought, like, this is it. Like, this is what I want. Like, this is what I need. A rich, deep, holy, sacred way. I need the experience of discovery, of awe and wonder, and I need it every day. And this is the questions from the book. How might I expand my sensation of enchanted, magical living out from the slender margins and into the fullness of my hours and how I live? I can taste it, glimpse it, yes, but can I wholeheartedly embody and embrace it as primary? Can I consciously, intentionally, mindfully weave my life out of sticks and stones and moss and words? And guess what? I wrote the manuscript for this book in 2019. And so here we are now, and I am here to say that yes, I can make more margin for magic. Yes, I can expand my sensation of enchanted magical living out from the slender margins and into the fullness of my days. I can. And part of the reason why I can now is because of 30 Days of Goddess and because of this process. And really, while it still just started in 2021, it was born from those seeds of desire back in 2019 when I was working on Walking with Persephone, of like, how can I bring this out? How can I explore this more? How can I experience this more? How can I touch this magic that I know is there, that I'm invited into every day? How can I expand that from the margins? So the slender slices on the sides of life. How can I bring it into center? How can I bring it into center? And for me, the answer has been 30 Days of Goddess has done that for me. And so I really appreciated that opportunity to review, like, oh, the call of desire, and then the answer, like what has been answered, what I answered, what I heard, what I offered. And so I wanted to share that as well. And so I actually had a couple of quotes that I was going to share, and I really think this is enough for right now. I will save my quotes, and we will look at those during our live call this month. And I'm planning to continue doing mid-month encouragement live Zooms, and the replays are available to the Goddess Magic Patreon community. That is patreon.com/Bridget'sGrove. But the live event is actually open to anybody. So if you want the replay, you do have to be a member of the community. If you want to show up live, then it's open to you as long as you're on the 30 Days of Goddess mailing list. That's at the very top of the page at 30daysofgoddess.com. It's super easy to be on the mailing list. It's free. I send out only 2 newsletters a month. And so the live call where we can explore some of these concepts together in virtual circle, I'm going to go ahead and save my quotes for that circle instead. And in the meantime, I encourage you to step into the sacred, continue making a space for yourself, continue breathing deep of the grace of in your own life. Continue touching the enchantment, continue experiencing the magic, continue walking forward with intention, and just, letting yourself know that there's a space held for you. There's a space held for you. And this is not a obligation. This is not a to-do. This is a space for joy. This is a space for the sacred. This is a space for you. This is an opportunity to return to center again and again, to come home to the soft space of your own belonging. And I had one more of my own little September cards that I had chosen to read. This I just randomly picked from the Cut Your Own deck, and I thought it was perfect considering those other thoughts that I was having. So, inviting you to take another deep breath and settling yourself into your belly, into where you are right now. I attune my senses to the sacred in the everyday, the soft and ordinary, I inhale the world into me, allow it to delight me. I will taste something of the holy, even if it is only my own longing. I will sense magic somewhere, some way, each day. Thank you so much for being here, and may you walk right into the sacred and find yourself at home. I've got a new little remote control and it doesn't always shut off.